Coming up on Tech News today, we're in our second week of PS3s being held hostage in the Netherlands. A continuing report. Also, should you fear the Mac Trojan? We'll tell you really what's going on with that. And Thieves bring down Vodafone in Basingstoke. And I learn how to properly pronounce Basingstoke. All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Monday, February 28th, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by MailRoute.info. MailRoute is a secure hosted service that provides enterprise-grade virus and spam filtering to companies of any size. Try it right now, absolutely free at MailRoute.info. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Darren Kitchen.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And this is the show where we help you with your litigation and your kitchen cabinet needs. Ask Kitchen and How to come give you an estimate today.
We'll be there.
No, actually.
What?
This is a show about technology.
I was going to say, I'm in the wrong TWiT cottage. That's so weird.
Merritt and Lane. Have you been in an accident? There is a hostage situation going on.
What?
Oh, no.
Have you heard about this?
Dangerous. No.
Something like 100,000 PlayStation 3s
think about the gamers.
are being held hostage in a warehouse in the Netherlands.
Why would the warehouse do this?
You can thank LG for that. LG has filed suit against Sony in Europe, claiming that they violate a Blu-ray patent. The Civil Court of Justice in The Hague has granted LG a preliminary injunction. That means all PlayStation 3s imported into Europe will be confiscated by customs for at least 10 days.
LG's just looking out for the Nintendo 3DS launch.
They're They've been hired to protect
absolutely
Nintendo.
Yeah.
Starting last week, items were seized and stockpiled in a Dutch warehouse. The Guardian reports that retailers probably have about 2 to 3 weeks of PS3s in stock. So if you are in an emergency situation and need a PS3 in Europe right now, you probably have 2 to 3 weeks before they're gone.
Or just go to the Dutch warehouse and hope that their security is not very strong.
Free the PS3s.
Break a window or something.
Free the PS3s. No PS3s, no PS3s.
No justice, no PS3s.
LG had the same complaint about Sony Bravia TVs, as I recall, but no one's talking about Bravias being held hostage.
No one's talking about it.
Either they haven't been shipped or no one cares. I have a Bravia TV. It's very important to me.
We're being seized too. Why doesn't anybody talk about us?
This has happened before. This has almost happened before with Qualcomm, and all of it will happen again.
Yeah,
the eternal return.
Qualcomm got as far as getting the injunction, but then Qualcomm immediately got a stay of the injunction so that the phones were not actually seized.
Right, and this is just for 10 days, though, so these PlayStations are really just kind of on vacation for a bit.
Right.
Because the retailers have 2 to 3 weeks of...
dank, dark Dutch warehouse.
Yeah, but, I mean, gamers shouldn't, there shouldn't be pandemonium in the streets. The gamers will still, can go to the store and... there'll be stock there.
I call on President Obama to airlift in unlitigated PS3s to Europe.
PS3s.
How about some PS3s that run Linux still? That would be good.
Yeah. eBay.
Dank,
I call on
and
eBay
Dutch.
to airlift in
We can have GeoHot
PS3s
to
that still
fly
run
them in.
Linux. All right. In all seriousness, they've got 10 days. LG can appeal and extend the ban. Or they can even ask for the devices to be destroyed, which I don't think they do. What they really want is Sony to agree to pay them. So this is all a game of brinksmanship.
This is so silly. It's like they're just stuck in a warehouse for 10 days, and then maybe they could be destroyed, but they probably won't because somebody has to pay somebody.
It's customs,
it's
man.
bizarre.
That's so customs.
Sony has a similar lawsuit going on against LG phones in the United States, saying they violate Sony's patents.
Didn't Sony start this mudslinging initially
who knows?
against LG
Sony,
in 2008?
This is like worse than World War I, trying to figure out like who actually started the war. Like Archduke Franz Ferdinand held a patent on some Kyocera, and then it just snowballed out of hand.
Well, patents. Boy.
Yeah. Well,
Customs.
what I'm wondering is, Will Sony back down and release the patent suit on the LG or sign a deal, or will they push their suit against LG and stop LG phones from coming into the United States?
Well, all signs point to Sony saying, "We'll get you back, suckers," because they've been at this for years.
They tagged the LG headquarters.
Lawyers need work too.
Lawyers need spray paint.
Yes.
Thousands of Gmail accounts were held hostage earlier today. A lot of folks woke up this morning, logged into their Gmail, and found they couldn't get in. Or if they could get in, their inbox was empty and they had no contact information anymore.
That would be a huge nightmare.
Yes.
That's actually something I have had a nightmare about in the past. So what happened?
Well, Andrew Kovacs on Twitter, who works for Google, says the Gmail issue affected 0.02% of users. Not 2%, but 0.02% of users. When he posted this 3 hours ago, they had restored access for a third of the users. The remaining 0.013% were being restored on an ongoing basis. He figures within 12 hours of his post that everyone should have everything back.
You know, it's kind of funny how Google is obviously focused on the 0.02 because that's such a small percentage. This is how few people this affects. But considering the millions of people who are Gmail users, that's still over 100,000 people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big city.
They estimate 150,000 people without Gmail
if
access.
I was one of those people, I would be like,
livid.
screw you. I might be a small percentage, but I am mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. Now, the data that was missing, was it somehow... You know, Darren, you'd made a joke before the show about being auto-archived. I mean, it wasn't actually... You couldn't pull anything out.
No, it was nowhere.
It was gone.
Yeah, it was gone.
Temporarily, anyway. Yeah.
Unless of course you made your own backup and then you could restore, like a tool like Gmail Backup will actually allow you to restore a backup that you've made back to Gmail, but then you would have had to have done that.
Now I use Backupify, which is an online
is
service.
Great. They got 2 gigs for free, but if you're like one of us who've been on Gmail since the beginning of time, you probably have like 7 gigs of email.
Yeah.
So
and I don't really
Gmail Backup backs it up locally?
Yeah, it's gmail-backup.com, but the site's actually down. I don't know if that's due to, you know, the recent event or whatnot, but I've gone ahead and made a tiny URL directly to the installer at tinyurl.com/gmailbackup2.
Excellent.
Nice.
All right, nice. And then finally, in our triplet of either service outage or product hostages, Vodafone's UK network was taken down. Folks in southeast England near Basingstoke could not use their 3G, 2G, SMS, or BlackBerry services on the Vodafone UK network this morning. The Register reports that thieves broke into the operator's Basingstoke exchange and lifted a load of switches.
How many switches?
I would guess all
this?
of them. From the size of this outage.
That sounds like a lengthy affair.
So anybody doesn't know.
How late into the night did they work?
A switch is like, you know, it's a little hub. It's the thing that all the Ethernet ports go into, and it routes the internet connections through. So if you go into an exchange and take out all the switches, all of a sudden that exchange has no way of sending information in or out.
Doesn't this seem so random that it sounds more like an inside job? Like somebody at Vodafone is just very upset and wanted to cause a lot of people grief.
Somebody realized that switches are expensive, and maybe if Vodafone wants them back, check Craigslist, Vodafone. You know, I'm just saying, this happens.
It's pretty ballsy to just walk into an exchange.
They walked into their server room, and the racks were there on cinder blocks, and they were like, "Where are our racks?"
Are there no security cameras? Yeah. It's just like, it's hard
Did they
for me
not
to
take
believe.
the copper wire
No,
too?
no, yeah.
They just gutted the place. Anyway, the company's already getting things back up, and by now it sounds like everybody in Basingstoke, as I'm told it is pronounced, has their service back. But yeah, Vodafone in a bit of a pickle this morning. Verizon's new CEO, Verizon Wireless's new CEO, Dan Mead, just took over for Lowell McAdam. Right after McAdam, it seems like only yesterday, he was on stage announcing the Verizon iPhone. He's gone.
Wow.
Bye, Lowell McAdam. It was like his last hurrah. Dan Mead took over, and Dan Mead told the Wall Street Journal, we're going to see more coming from Apple on LTE. LTE is Verizon's faster so-called 4G network. Mead says they understand the value proposition of LTE, and I feel very confident that they're going to be a part of it. So this sounds like we're going to get iPhones on LTE sooner than later.
But this is such a general statement
Right.
LTE,
Like you have to assume.
we believe in this, and we'll make it happen. But there's no date, there's no detail. It's just kind of one of those things anybody could
Well,
say.
it's kind of weird because it's one of those things where you just assume, like, okay, obviously the next iteration of the hardware is going to use the faster network. Why are they coming out and saying, oh, yeah, we're pretty sure it's going to happen? It's like, you're pretty sure. Who are you reassuring? Are you reassuring you or us?
Confident.
Yeah. And it's because Google spiked them, right?
Yeah, on the other side of things, Wired has a very interesting article about whether Google has prevented the iPhone from operating on Verizon's LTE network. If anybody remembers, in 2008, Verizon accepted openness conditions on the 700 megahertz spectrum in order to win the auction for the C block of that spectrum, which allows them to operate their LTE network. And they are forced to open that network not only to other operators, but also to any device or application to run on that network. Now, depending on how you read this, it may mean that any application has to be allowed on the device, which the iPhone, you can jailbreak to do that, but the iPhone itself blocks applications. They block applications from the iTunes store.
The other way to read it is I, go overseas and get a really kick-butt phone, and I bring it back, and I'm like, oh, well, it's CDMA. Actually, I guess I wouldn't go overseas and find a CDMA phone unless I went to Japan. But still, it's CDMA, and I want to, get it on their LTE network or something like that. And they would have no way to prevent me. Or if I built my own phone, as long as it doesn't interfere with the network.
Your CDMA phone isn't going to work on the LTE network.
Well, okay, you know what I'm saying.
But yeah, you go overseas.
If I buy a new phone and I
that's easy. Verizon can do that. They can say, fine, we have to allow that.
Yeah,
but
that's one interpretation of it is as long as it's, you have to make the network open to any device.
Here's the interesting thing. That part's easy for them, though. They just say, okay, fine, we'll let any device on as long as you pay us, right? Specifically, a C-block licensee may not block, degrade, or interfere with the ability of end users to download and utilize applications of their choosing on the licensee's C-block network, subject to reasonable network management. So this is about not devices, but apps. Meaning, if I have and some people are reading this to mean, if I have an iPhone and I can't, say, get the Sony e-reader app on it, that it violates this clause because you're preventing me from running the app of my choice.
I guess the two ways to look at it are, say, like you've got your own jailbroken iPhone. They can't prevent a jailbroken iPhone from being on because you can run any app you want.
Right.
Versus them being required to sell iPhones that will run any app.
I kind of think you're right. I think people are over-interpreting this to mean you couldn't run an iPhone. I think all it says is you couldn't stop somebody from running a jailbroken iPhone. I don't think it requires every device to run any kind of software possible.
I mean, it's obvious that the iPhone is going to have to go 4G. I mean, like all devices, they make it to the next generation of whatever the network is. And I don't think that Apple would have partnered with Verizon if they knew that down the road they would have to make significant changes to their entire philosophy of their app ecosystem.
But this is also something Verizon has thought about, too. I mean, they agreed to terms and conditions, having thought through, and have even said to the FCC, listen, this is about third-party apps and devices not harming the network being allowed, not about locked devices.
Right, because
that's how we see this, and they're on record saying so.
Because remember, initially, Google was all about, oh, we're going to sell, the phone. We're going to sell the Nexus 1. You can buy it from us and get it on any carrier. And that's why they were bidding initially for that C block to kind of, I don't know if it was just driving up the price or just getting this rule in there. Because Verizon, they didn't want this. They took it to court. Verizon said, no way.
They could take it back to court. I think they'll end up in court, though. The Open Internet Coalition is the one that's pushing this the most. I think they're trying to force Apple to open up their device, and I think that's probably a fool's game. I don't think you're going to get that to happen. But you never know. You never know until you try.
Somebody
and it looks like
Google
they're going to try.
Is giggling.
Yeah.
Wildly.
Facebook just changed the way the like button works. Used to be if you click the Facebook's like button, it would put a link in your recent activity.
Like bucket.
Like in the like bucket. You just take a spit in the like bucket. You'll be fine. No, if you liked something, it would just show up in your recent activity. Barely noticeable.
I never clicked on anything anyone would like because it was just sort of a link without any reference to what they had been reading.
Where I would see it most is when they'd have a little Facebook box and I'd go to like a blog and they'd say, oh, all these stories were liked by your friends, and they'd have the list, right? Well, now what they're doing is if you click like, a full story with a headline, blurb, and thumbnail will be posted to your profile wall.
So the
no
blurb
one will be
posted,
able
not
to
the full story. But
integrate it. Yeah, right.
it'll be so.
No one will be able to avoid it, I should say, not integrate it.
Right.
No one will. Everyone will
something you
know
can
you
customize.
liked it. You really liked it.
Which I can see this going two ways. Number one, if Darren likes a story, on Ars Technica, and there's a little photo that represents the story, there's the first few sentences of the story with a link back to ours, I'd be like, okay, I get a lot out of this, rather than just some link that I may or may not click on. But think of how messy it's going to be if people are liking
lots of things.
Which they are.
I like to keep
we've
a
all
tidy
been
wall.
encouraged to like as much as possible.
Yeah. Do you keep a tidy wall? I mean, nobody wants.
I prefer to
ton
keep a
of
tidy wall. Yeah.
Yeah, and nobody wants just like a ton of thumbnails for everything.
No.
They like. You can't like everything you like. Is the thing now. You could share what you liked to share.
Well, you're sharing.
Well, that's what it is now. It's the like button's now the share button.
So Facebook is saying we want the like functionality to actually be more helpful to folks, but they're almost saying think about what you like before you actually physically like it.
Do you really like that?
Do you really like that?
Do you like it enough?
Do you like it?
Or do you just like?
They could do like Cold Stone has with
Oh,
the
I like
different
it, like it.
servings. They've got the like it, love it, and whatever the really, really like it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
love it button.
Something above love.
Yeah, I think
Lurv.
yeah, man.
Believe.
Yeah.
Facebook plans to resume address and phone sharing. Remember, they said they were going to do this where you'd be allowed to share your address and phone number with third parties, and then Congress and everyone got their knickers in a twist, and they said, well, we'll think about this. Facebook has now said in a letter released today that it is evaluating different ways to enhance user control over information sharing that would go into effect once the feature is re-enabled. So it sounds like they are determined to re-enable the ability for you to share your phone number and address with third-party apps.
This is so typical Facebook, as they say, you're going to be able to share your phone and address. People go, what? This is awful, Facebook. You're horrible with privacy. And then they take it away, and then they just sort of quietly put it back with some weird legal speak that no one pays attention to.
We put it back, and now you have control.
Yeah. So
You
go
have
ahead
to
and
opt
remove
in.
those details from your Facebook profile now, and then you won't have to worry about it later.
Right.
A lot of stuff is circulating today about a Trojan for Windows called Dark Comet that has been ported to Mac. A lot of folks are referring to it as a rat. But Darren, you were explaining a rat is just a remote administration tool.
Well, there's a little bit of confusion because there's another product from Dark Comet called Rat that's a remote administration tool, and then some articles are quoting it as being a what is it called? A remote
administration Trojan.
Trojan. Yeah, remote access
Remote
Trojan.
access Trojan.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it looks like, well, according to Intego on their blog, they're saying, look, this is just a Trojan that has a remote administration tool bundled into it. So this is no different than what you could do over terminal, over an SSH connection. It's just easier. So it's not necessarily any more dangerous than any other Trojan that's been out there. But I guess this thing's pretty snotty.
It is snotty. It leaves like this ugly message, or can if the person that has owned your machine wants to, they can pop up this like, oh, you thought your Mac was so impervious to viruses? Well, check it out. You've got a virus now. Ha ha ha! I've owned your Mac. I can do anything I want to your Mac.
God, that rat is such a punk.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny
dirty
how
rat.
if you want to take advantage of this, then that has to be the way that you're poning people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like
is that really the voice?
well, the thing is, it's kind of like if those in the audience remember Sub 7, this is kind of like that for a Mac. Lets you do nasty stuff to machines that you've owned.
But it's not the first
Easily.
Trojan for a Mac.
No.
And it's
it won't
not
be the
like
last.
the fact that it has a remote administration tool makes it suddenly
Well, the thing is, it makes it
a
easy
lot dangerous.
because
a lot more dangerous.
they make it easier than just like getting terminal access to a machine. You can
Right.
put like files on the desktop. You can pop up a window that'll like ask for a password, kind of like do a phishing scam thing where yeah.
All right. Key to this is don't install anything that you didn't mean to, and run a firewall and be secure. All right, Motorola has a ton of stories coming out today. First of all, they were talking at an investor conference, and Sanjay Jha from Motorola said that all the high-end smartphones will have Webtop starting in June. So the Droid Bionic on Verizon should have Webtop. Webtop's the software that allows you to dock the Atrix into a laptop form or a television and use the phone as if it were a laptop or a television.
Except the Droid Bionic won't be shipping with it because of a time constraint. That's the exception.
Well, the Droid Bionic's going to come out before that, but they say from June onwards, all of these will have the function. So the Droid Bionic won't ship with it before June, but after June, they'll be able to put it on there.
Oh, okay. Cool.
At least that's the way this Engadget story reads. Motorola is also suing TiVo. Just thought we'd throw that out there since we're talking about everybody suing everybody else right now. Also, Sanjay Jha hinted that a 7-inch tablet could arrive before the end of the year, so a smaller version of the Zoom or the Zoom.
He also sort of made some funny comments about how 7-inch tablets are just more fun.
They are. They're fun size.
They're just more fun.
Yeah.
The 10-inch is more of a business type of a tool, which I don't get that at all.
Yeah,
I mean, more
that's it.
portable, I guess, if you have a smaller bag, but not necessarily more fun.
That's how these companies work, though. They're always trying to be like, oh, that's the professional version. You know, I mean, even like Windows, like XP, like Pro and Home. What was the difference? Like, you know, the fact that you couldn't join a domain. Arbitrary stuff so they can differentiate the project. They're like, well, we got to make a differentiation in the product so we can sell it to different customers.
It's just a silly thing. It's we're talking 3 inches here.
Better than all of this,
3 inches of more fun, though,
is that Motorola is going to make Android secure.
Well, it's about time.
Oh, this
How are they going to do that?
This is for enterprise management. Right now, Android has a hard time getting into the enterprise because of the ability to manage is not there like it is for an iPhone or a BlackBerry.
Yeah, like there's no
Windows
encryption
Mobile.
built in.
So Motorola Mobility is relying on 3LM, a small startup it acquired that develops enterprise security and management tools for Android. What they intend to do is create the API for Android that adds security and management capabilities at the OS level, so the entire device can be managed via policies by mobile device management tools, and Motorola plans to offer its own mobile management suite by July. So this would allow Android to move into the enterprise, which is a way to increase your Android sales by huge amounts.
And since it's just a separate company, they can go ahead and sell it to, you know, all of the other LGs and HTCs of the world.
So they got fun tablets. They're suing TiVo. They're making Android stable. Motorola is busy.
Yeah.
Doing everything.
It's Motopalooza. Exactly. All right. Time now for the News Fusapalooza. Did you get a gold Zoom at the Engadget meetup? Anybody? Anybody win that? What about the Oscars? Did you get one in your gift bag at the Oscars? No. Well, did you get a Zoom and root it?
No.
Can I?
You can.
Woo!
But gold or not, if you root your Zoom, you'll need to restore it to the default ROM before you send it back to Motorola to get the LTE upgrade that takes 6 days to put in.
But it'll be paved in gold when you get it back.
Not sure if that's true or not.
Only on the screen.
Can't say it's not.
There's a gold screensaver.
You need to be running the stock Honeycomb installation in order to receive the update that allows the LTE antenna to function after they put it in. So if you do root your Zoom, be sure to put it back in place if you send it in for that LTE antenna.
How'd that Nintendo 3DS sell, you might be wondering? Japanese publication Nikkei, or Nikkei, claimed that Nintendo's handheld sold out its entire initial run of 400,000 3DS units in its first 2 days of availability. So it's pretty fast. Gaming magazine Famitsu reports the device sold 371,326 units. Still highly respectable, and it's already been hacked to run homebrew applications, emulators, and backed up DS games.
Yeah, you can get that R4 chip really cheap.
Yeah.
Pop it on 3DS. There we go. Check it out. PAX East is going to kick off in Boston on March 11th, and the reports are that we're going to be treated with an NVIDIA card, the GeForce GTX 590, which will sport 1,024 CUDA cores, 3 gigs of onboard RAM, and dual 384-bit memory controllers, of course 3 DVI ports on a single 3D card with Vision Surround Gaming. Engadget reports that AMD is also close to launching their own competing Radeon HD 6990.
So don't buy a video card. That's what that means. In a research note this morning, Bernstein research analyst Tony S. reports on a Sakanagi? Sorry, Tony. Reports on a meeting he had last week with Apple's Tim Cook, Peter Oppenheimer, and Eddie Q. Among the tidbits, Cook says Apple will develop lower-priced iPhones. He brought up China as a focus for that kind of activity and a prepaid market. Cook also believes tablets will be bigger and more competitive in the marketplace than phones. So in other words, he thinks they're going to sell more tablets than they sell phones, but they're going to have a lot more people competing with them on it. He did not comment on any white iPads or whether iPads would be available immediately after the announcement on Wednesday. Those are 2 rumors making the rounds.
Really? A white iPad rumor? I haven't even heard this one.
Yeah.
Wow. I've already
There
forgotten
she
about the white
blows.
iPhone rumor.
The albatross.
You might
I see
be
the
one-
white iPad.
After the tweaking of Google's search algorithm last week, you remember how they wanted to de-emphasize low-quality sites? You might be wondering how that affected the content farms. The punching bag that everybody was throwing out there was demand media. That was kind of the example that Google wanted to set. Well, the SEO firm Systrix analyzed 1 million keywords and determined that demand media's ehow.com, which you may know is always at the top of all your searches, actually gained visibility.
Is that
SEO
possible?
clarity.
Wow.
I think, yeah, it is possible. I mean, that's what they say anyway. SEO Clarity, which independently analyzed 60,000 keywords, reached the same conclusion. So I don't know if it's because everybody was kind of talking about this story and...
I think if Google keeps trying to bring down the content farms, we're going to need farm subsidies.
Yeah. Well, we have villas of farms on Facebook.
Boo. God, bad humor on the show today, you guys. Stinkers.
Well, check this out. Maybe you'll remember this U.S. plan to give any country the power to veto over a proposed top-level domain, those TLDs that we all know and love. Well, a group of nations, not a league, have rejected the idea last week, instead allowing the governments to offer notable advice about controversial suffixes such as like .gay and not actually have veto power. Other U.S. suggestions were adopted to make it easier for countries and trademark holders to go ahead and file some objections, but no veto power.
Good. Feel cool things are starting to trickle out of Cbit already in Hanover, Germany. Asus is showing off its Eee Pad Transformer netbook running full-on Honeycomb on a Tegra 2 processor. The Eee Pad Mimo is also being promised with a Qualcomm port of Honeycomb in time for its June launch.
If you want some evidence that we're living in the future, listen up. The Federal Aviation Administration is allowing charter company executive jet management to use Apple's tablet as an approved alternative to paper charts. The authorization follows 3 months of rigorous testing and evaluation of the iPad and Mobile TC, which is a map app developed by aviation chart maker Jeppesen. That's only for pilots, though, so you don't get excited.
Can I just leave my tablet on, ma'am? 'Cause
No.
the pilot has his tablet on.
No,
I just
all
wanna keep
electronic
reading-
devices
I
need to
I
be
wanna
in
read
the
my
off
book.
position,
Okay, I
not
just wanna
even in
finish my
plane
book.
mode. No, sir.
But it's-
Please
but the
turn
pilot-
your tablet off. Do you want
If it has an
crackers
off
or
button,
don't
you
you?
turn it off.
That's right.
Tom,
doesn't
take
have
the
an off
battery out.
button.
I want you to take the battery out right now.
Do you want this plane to crash? Then keep your tablet on, sir.
Air Marshal! All right. Finally, the Oscars, the Academy Awards happened last night.
Oh, Tom, the glitz and the glamour.
A couple of geek movies were up for awards. The Social Network.
That was a geek movie?
The Mark Zuckerberg-ish story, although it's not really factual.
It's like the glossy geek story that wasn't.
You need to see the PHP coding scene.
I guess I do.
It's quite impressive.
Tom's been talking about this since the day after he saw the movie.
It was the
only
that
part
it
of
was
the movie
that
such
I
a
liked.
good
It
scene
was
and they
like-
got everything right.
Well, I can imagine it's like the thing where like, oh my gosh, they used Nmap in The Matrix, you know?
Yeah, right.
They actually did. That was
Yeah.
cool.
Or Harrison Ford in Firewall.
Using what? Oh, VNC? What was it again?
Yeah, I think it was VNC.
Oh, that movie was so,
I
Anyway,
like when they get it right.
so bad.
Inception took away all the honors, not the Social Network. Social Network won 3 Oscars. They won for screenplay because of the snappy dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
They did not win for best factual movie because that's not a category.
No.
But Inception took the big
Inception
honors.
should have won the screenplay. That's just my opinion. But now, why are we saying Inception is a geek movie?
Well,
Because
it's
you said
totally
a couple of
Because
geek
you hack
movies.
the brain.
Oh,
Dude, it's like The Matrix.
No, it isn't.
I can control your dreams.
Social
They
engineering
just
mind.
they just drug people.
Sarah, this is Jason's dream we're in right now.
Where's
Isn't
my
that- isn't that
where's
sad?
my spinny thing?
It's kind of sad. Where's my dreidel?
reality?
Get me out of here, please.
All right, on to the calendar.
You, listener.
OnLive is offering free micro consoles with purchases of the game Homefront. So that's cool. If you're purchasing the game, then you get something for free. The demo conference kicked off today in Palm Springs. That's VentureBeat. It's their conference. A lot of tweets been going around today. Startups galore, lots of news, good stuff. I think it runs through Wednesday. Cbit starts tomorrow, March 1st, and runs through March 5th in Hanover, Germany.
Yeah, das ist sehr gut.
The GDC, or Game Developers Conference, if you're not familiar, starts today. That's February 28th, and it runs all the way through March 4th. AT&T is going to start selling Kindle 3G e-readers in its retail stores starting on March 6th.
That's nifty. That's the first time you'll be able to buy the Kindle in a store, right? Or no, I guess Target had them for a while.
Did they?
I think I saw it, but now that you said it, maybe you're just trying to implant something in my mind.
I'm just
my dreidel?
accepting it.
And finally, the Fisker Karma, and if you're not familiar with it, it's like the coolest looking car ever, is finally slated to enter production on March 21st. So let's hope that's true, because this is like this really beautiful hybrid car that can, I think it goes like 50 miles just on battery. And it's going to have a very affordable price tag of about $95,000 starting. Who can't afford that?
No, that's pocket change.
It's for all of us. We can get two. And
Darren
one for our
dropped
mothers.
that walking down to the studio.
I
Just
did.
now.
My latte and $95,000.
I was gonna
And
pick it
I
up.
picked it up and bought a second one of these with yours.
See, I was going to pick it up,
one.
but I thought pennies.
It's not worth my bending over.
You
I
really
don't
need to buy
need
two, though, because with only,
to throw out my back.
the mileage
picking
range, you got to have a redundant array of inexpensive Karmas.
It's
a rocker.
It's a good-looking car, though.
a rake.
So that's exciting. You're a car nut. And then finally, just a reminder that TWiT will be at South by Southwest. We're going to be full coverage, or partial coverage anyway, on Saturday and Sunday, the 12th and the 13th of March. We'll be wearing bikinis. Not really.
Not me.
No.
That's not the partial coverage I
Not
was
me
going to
either.
tune in
Darren,
for.
perhaps. This is sort of just a weird note. I'm participating in a flash mob. It has nothing to do with TWiT, but I
Isn't
told
the
these
idea of a
anonymous
flash
people,
mob that you don't have to
Partial-
plan it? You just show up?
well, the people participating in it have to plan it. That's
Okay,
how
all
they
right.
do these things. That's all a
Partial coverage
coordinated
flash
effort.
mob.
So I said that I would participate, and we will stream it, whatever I end up doing. It's either going to be really cool or really
singing?
really scary. I may be singing. I don't know what yet, though, because they're
Will
not
you
going
be
to give me
chanting
details.
"Fish are lame"?
I hope so. Well, I'll just do that anyway. If that's not part of the flash mob, I will do that at
will
our
become
meetup.
it.
That'll be on Sunday, by the way. So come to the meetup. It's at Momo's.
All right. Do give us a call and leave us a voicemail, 260-TNT show. We do listen to them. We don't always have time to play them back in the show. Or sometimes people make good points, but they talk a little long, so try to keep them short. You can also email us or email us a link to you on a video, TNT@twit.tv. Got a couple emails to read today. Sarah Houghton-Jan, you might remember her from our listeners co-host episode.
She's the librarian in black.
That's right. She wrote in to say, readers everywhere are fighting back today against limitations on ebook access and use. Proliferating around the interwebs this morning is the eBooks Users Bill of Rights, outlining basic freedoms for digital content users. She says, my co-author Andy Woodworth and I released it in the public domain and hope that other voices and comments add to the discussion, raise awareness, and stimulate some real change in the market. Those who sign on to the idea are asked to copy the text with comments and remixes as the urge strikes and repost it on their own websites, in email, in podcasts, as we're doing here, on walls, and on Twitter. 60 minutes after launch, we're seeing over 100 copies already. So check it out. Go to librarianinblack.net, and you can find her posting of it right there. The ebook Bill of Rights. This is in response largely to the story we talked about last week, where the book publisher was trying to require that libraries only be allowed to lend an electronic book 26 times before they deleted it, because that happens with real books.
They get worn out.
The bindings fall apart.
27.
After only
Unacceptable.
27 times.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is.
Missing
26,
a few
28.
zeros.
Anyway, fight back.
Thanks,
You've
Sarah.
angered the librarians now. That
They-
was not
They
a
don't
good
wanna do
idea.
that.
They're scrappy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to do that.
Jim, the space systems engineer in California, found some interesting. He noticed something interesting about the Motorola Atrix from AT&T. He says, you know, we knew that the laptop dock was pricey at $300. That's after a rebate when purchased with the phone. And it appeared that you had to get the 4GB data pro plan in order to get this rebate. Not so. You need the expensive tethering enabled 4GB data pro plan if you intend to use the laptop accessory at all. And he noticed in the fine print from AT&T and Amazon, full Firefox browser use with AT&T mobile broadband requires data pro 4GB plan. Amazon says tethering plan is required to use a laptop with your Atrix 4G. So he said, you know, I thought it was a dumb accessory that was like plugging in your phone to a monitor and turning on a Bluetooth keyboard. How is this tethering?
It's not. It's tricking. Because you can just plug it in. It's just that they're like, we're not going to sell you this unless you buy this plan. There's no technical reason for it at all.
Absolutely. Is there any way they can get more money? But, dude, you know what I'm saying? Like, $100 netbook, root your phone, get some Wi-Fi tether. Don't pay any of those fees.
Yeah. Or just don't get it.
Yeah, that's the way to vote with your wallet.
Yeah, I mean, the annoying thing about it is that it's trickery.
It
It's
is.
just I don't know, like raise the price if you're just going to be jerks about it. Don't trick us.
Thank you. You don't need to be a space systems engineer to figure that out. But it did help Jim.
Yes, and it helped us because he told us about it.
And we're very happy to have a space systems engineer in the audience. In case we run into questions about space systems engineering, Jim, I hope you'll be able to help us out with that.
Yes.
But thanks for pointing this out, too, because this is ridiculous. It's just absolutely silly.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't pay for it.
What also is ridiculous is we're done.
No.
Yeah,
no,
I know.
no. That is not what I was promised.
What were
Yeah?
you
The
promised?
The show keeps going.
Well, it does in the in the post show, which is where you can stick around and find out if Darren can beat Tom Merritt in a pen twirling competition. But you'll have to watch the live stream for that. You can
I have
watch
to
it
wash
at
my hair right
twit.tv
after the show.
/live, right?
I'd love to.
Twit.tv/TNT, live.twit.tv is where we do the live show. Don't forget to catch Darren on Hack 5 at HAK number 5.
Season 9 just launched. Like a crazy
.org.
case mods.
Woohoo.
It's an org.
Crazy case mods. Yeah.
Crazy case mods?
Yeah.
How
You're gonna love
crazy
them.
is crazy?
They look like that.
Twit.tv.
I think I'm going to like it.
/T. We're getting played off. It's like the Oscars. I want to thank my agent, twit.tv/TNT, my email address, TNT@twit.tv, and I'd like to thank my phone number,
everybody in
260 TNT show.
What's my wife's name?
Especially Dustin
You.
and-
I love you.
He was
Icon.
choked up. He didn't forget her name.
I don't know.
We'll see you tomorrow.
I want to thank Mike, Aaron,
He was shocked up.
Raygun01. Oh, wait, that's you.
There's a man in our new studio. Alert
With a
the
bucket.
authorities. There's a man with a bucket.
What is he doing with the bucket?
A like bucket, actually.
Oh, okay.
It's where you like
All right,
things
you
and
like,
put
you like
them.
things in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.